I'm Heidi Hewitt, AutoCAD Technical Marketing Manager at Autodesk, speaking with David Cohn, Consultant and Technical Publishing Manager with 4D Technologies. David, with the productivity study that you conducted for AutoCAD, what were some of the results that you expected or that you found?
Well, in putting together this study, I kind of had in my mind that we were going to see an improvement in using 2011. And, when you start using new features, you learn how to use those new features. The new feature was added because it's going to help you get something done faster. So we knew that the results, that the benchmark, the study was kind of skewed to show 2011 in its best light. But quite frankly, I didn't expect to see the level of improvement that I ultimately saw. It was much more dramatic than I expected to see.
And can you describe some examples of where you saw some of the features? Or
It was pretty amazing. As I said earlier, one of the reasons I devised the test the way it was because I looked at similar studies that had been done before with focus groups, and the problem was that the time frame that you were measuring wasn't a realistic representation of the way people really work. Most things that you do in AutoCAD take hours or days to finish a drawing. So these drawings that I was creating literally were taking hours or days. In AutoCAD 2008, when all of the drawings were done, it took 13 hours and 24 minutes to complete the 8 drawings. Now again, that's after I became familiar with the drawings, so I'm not stopping. I am drawing lines and arcs, and I'm creating things as fast
Were you dreaming about these drawings?
as fast as I think anybody could possibly create. I mean, if you did a shootout with these drawings and you put them up against me, I'm going to produce them a whole lot faster. So 13 hours, 24 minutes in AutoCAD 2008. Those same drawings in AutoCAD 2011, 9 hours and 16 minutes. Now, understand that's running AutoCAD 2008 on a system that would have been a current system when 2008 came out, running Windows XP, because that was the operating system that was being used at the time. And we were isolating our results to just AutoCAD, so we didn't upgrade the hardware. We simply installed AutoCAD 2011 on the exact same HP XW40, I think it was a 4600 workstation. All we changed was the software. So we improved productivity 31%, or you could say we improved the time. We reduced the time. As you can say productivity is calculated differently. We saved 31% of the time, reduced the time 31% just by going from AutoCAD 2008 to AutoCAD 2011. Well, then it's what happens if we also upgrade the hardware? So HP also provided me with a Z200 workstation. So that's now current technology, and now we're running Windows 7. Once we introduced a change of hardware and operating system as well, now the time got reduced even more. We're now 44% faster than I produced the drawings using AutoCAD 2008 on the XW4600 workstation running Windows XP.
That's significant.
So it was much more significant. Yeah. On the individual drawings, the productivity improved anywhere from 15%, on a fairly easy drawing, where yes, I think that was one of the tests looking at 3D. In fact, I think it was one of the models that you used during the AutoCAD 2011 rollout. I think I actually used one of your models, and that one showed the smallest gain. It was about 15% gain, or 15% reduction in time. On some of the other tests, we went as high as 94% reduction in the amount of time it took to do the drawing. So we were literally taking a task that in AutoCAD 2008 took several hours to do and reduced it to less than 15 minutes.
Something you just can't.
When I saw those kind of results, it's like, okay, there's something going on here, and it's much more than I ever expected to see.
And were these typical, can you name some of the features that you were using or some of the things that really helped?
Well, sure. I mean, each test was looking at certain things. So I mentioned in one of our earlier talks the reflected ceiling plan. So on the reflected ceiling plan, it's a repetition of a rectangular grid pattern. We're talking about the ceiling tiles. Well, but the building curved. In AutoCAD 2008, you wouldn't have seen the results that you got for the hatch pattern until after the hatch pattern was applied, and typically then it's going to be, its origin's going to be in the wrong place for that
Trial
room.
and error.
So it's a trial and error process, whereas in 2011, because now your hatch pattern is being controlled from a ribbon and you see a preview as you're creating it, as you're creating the hatch pattern, you can make sure it aligns properly with the orientation of the room, because that room is curving. You can make sure that the grid is centered in the room properly, because now your lights need to be centered, so the position of the grid is what's controlling that. So that was one aspect. When we looked at 3D, being able to do things like object selection cycling, because when you're working in a complex 3D model, you're not always sure which object you're selecting. And you've got this toggle now down on the status bar where you can toggle on object selection cycling. When you move your cursor over and click on something, you get this little panel comes up, and as you move your cursor over the panel, you can see which object is highlighting in the drawing. So there's no longer any ambiguity as far as what object you're selecting.
Not having to keep hitting escape and try again.
It's amazing how much faster that makes you able to work in 3D when you're no longer using this trial and error to select objects, right? Or the gizmo. Being able to pick up a 3D gizmo and move it to a vertex or a center of a face. 3D object snap. Again, when you're working in 3D, you're no longer working with the old 2D object snaps, but you can literally snap to the center of a face or the vertex of a face, as opposed to just these 2D object snaps. You're snapping to intersections of things in 3D.
So just really a combination of all these little things that are adding together at the same time.
Being able to, you're adding hatch patterns. One of the drawings was a schematic design for an actual hospital. This was a project that I created when I was still practicing architecture. It was a hospital. And so I was color coding the usage areas in the hospital. And again, being able to see the hatch pattern as it was being created, but being able to control the transparency of the hatch. So I didn't have to go in and manipulate a plot style table later to make that particular color somewhat transparent. I was able to make the hatch pattern transparent as I created it. So I didn't have to then go manipulate a plot style table later.
Big time savings
so
there.
Again, amazingly big time when this is what you're trying to achieve.
Not to mention a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, David.
You're welcome.